Starting off week 3 of my October movie marathon. Today, I'm watching the 1977 Japanese film House. This has been something I got off Netflix forever ago. Hey, it's a Toho film. Awesome. Same company that did Godzilla. I'm already liking this. But yeah, it's a movie I got off Netflix forever ago, and I never actually got around to watching it, so it's supposed to be crazy and trippy and wild. I'm looking forward to it. And my reflection is really bad in this video. Oh well. So, House was really strange, if nothing else. Very odd. I can't even think of a good way to describe it. Like, the color schemes in it kind of reminded me of Suspiria with the bright colors, but it had a lot of, like, animated effects and blue screen effects in it. And then there were parts in it that were just almost like Looney Tunes or Evil Dead 2 territory with, like, craziness. And I don't even know how to describe it. It's just weird. A weird movie. I think it's worth watching at least once. It was just strange, but I really don't know how to feel about what I just saw. It is ironic that I ended last week talking about the birds and talking about how I felt the characters were overdeveloped and unnecessarily developed, and that I'm so used to movies where the characters are just types, not real characters. Well, this movie takes it to a very literal level, and basically, the characters in it are all just given an attribute, and that's their name, and that's who they are. I mean, there's characters like Gorgeous, and Harmony, or Melody, or something like that, Professor, Fantasy. It's just, their names describe their characteristic, and that's all they are. They're nothing but, there's Kung Fu. Yeah, that shows you about how literal it gets. A character in the movie was named Kung Fu, and all she did was beat things up. But really strange. If you've ever watched any real Japanese anything, but particularly horror, you know that sometimes it's just like, oh yes, there's a ghost, and this ghost does things that just are outlandish, but everybody accepts it because it's a ghost, and that's, okay, that's what a ghost does, but I don't know. Just a very strange movie. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I've seen it, but I don't know if I'll ever return to this one again, but I'm glad I saw it. Time to go work on some Halloween decorations now that I have the time. This is a sign we're doing for the outside of our apartment. So I'm going to go cut this out. Here it is, all cut out. We're going to stain it dark. It's actually going to be it's going to be this color. This is dark brown when it's all done. Then I'm working out a way to affix it outside and have it hanging, just like a typical old pub sign. But I don't know, I'm really proud of my stupid little design that I did really quickly, because it's supposed to be, you know, back in the day when they had pubs and not everybody could read, they had the signs that just kind of alluded to what was inside, so people who couldn't read could tell. So it's got the mug of beer in the middle with the vampire bat going down, drinking it, and then unintentionally made a big D in the middle of it, fitting for Dracula. So I am pretty happy with how this came out. And there's the dog for size comparison, if anybody cares, because he's giving me like really sad eyes right now. For today's movie, I'm checking out the 1950s black and white giant monster, giant ant movie, Them.
Yes, cities, nations, even civilization itself, threatened with annihilation, because in one moment of history-making violence, nature, mad, rampant, wrought its most awesome creation. For born in that swirling inferno of radioactive dust were things so horrible, so terrifying, so hideous. There is no word to describe them.
When man entered the atomic age, he opened a door into a new world. What we'll eventually find in that new world, nobody can predict.
I gotta say, I am pleasantly surprised at this movie. A lot of 1950s B-movie giant monster things that I've seen have been very generic, very nothing. But every so often you do kind of find one of those gems of a movie, and I think this is it. Them was a lot of fun, and I don't think I'm the only person who's a fan of this movie. James Cameron obviously is a fan of this movie because Aliens must be heavily inspired from this. I had no clue before I turned it on. But there are scenes that are so reminiscent of what Cameron did in Aliens. I mean, they're fighting these giant ants in the tunnels underneath the earth with flamethrowers. The whole problem with the movie is that it starts off with this one colony in the desert, and the queen gets loose and starts breeding more and having more queens across the world. It's really a cool concept. I mean, it's a lot like Aliens, and granted, giant ants look nowhere as cool, and the way they function is nowhere near as cool as the Giger alien design or anything like that. So you don't have quite the cool factor there, but the kernel of the idea that I think became Aliens is right here in this movie. There's also a lot of really good stereotypical 1950s giant monster movie action. I saw a lot of things that reminded me of Godzilla. There were some other things in there that reminded me of The Blob. And, of course, there was the generic thrown in there 1950s campiness that you'd expect something like maybe The Giant Gila Monster or something like that. Movies that aren't quite as good, more Mystery Science Theater 3000 fare. But this definitely is a movie that I think I'm going to watch again. Maybe not today. I don't have time to watch it today. But in the future, this is definitely a film I'm going to throw back on because I had a really good time watching it and I really enjoyed it. And just to see how much of a link it has to Aliens is really neat. So the sign for Dracula's Pub is now officially up and hanging. It's kind of a difficult task. I had to design a way to get it to hang without actually putting anything in the structure. So I have a big C-clamp up there. Then I used hose clamps to put a piece of PVC pipe on that, and some binder clips to hold the bat on. But I think it looks pretty darn cool swinging up there. I'm pretty happy about that. So right now we have that. And then we have this sign up here. And we still gotta decorate the rest of the back porch. Can't believe it's already day 16 of my horror movie marathon. And today's movie is Evil Ed.
Tag, liebe Kollege. This patient has been subjected to an extra intense dose of movie ultraviolence. Once though, this was a good man, a nice and well-disciplined film editor who was sent out on a very dangerous mission to remove extremely violent scenes from the splatter movies. Yeah, and weiter. The cause of the disease involves the paranoid delusions and the extreme fear of what we scientists call phase 1. As the disease progresses, as fear turns to anger, the patient enters the violent stage. Phase 2.
All the phases of this disease can be more closely examined in the new motion picture Evil Ed, where my patient, Edward, is the Edward.
It had been a bad and violent day. As I watched Mal lying there, purity and innocence personified, it all suddenly became clear to me. Someday the world will be a kinder place for everybody. For the children, for the little puppies, and for everything soft, cuddly, and wonderful. Someday love will rule the world. It will happen. Oh yes, it will happen.
So Evil Ed, what a weird freaking movie. The quality of it is probably in line with like Troma films, so it's really crummy, low budget quality, nothing really to it. But it was entertaining, if nothing else. You could tell the people who made it really love horror movies, particularly Evil Dead. Obviously, the name is Evil Ed, so they're either referencing Evil Dead or Fright Night. But there's a lot of shots that are reminiscent of Evil Dead. One of the characters is named Sam Campbell. It's definitely a tribute to particularly that movie, but other ones as well. There's references to Gremlins, there's references to Reanimator, references to Legend, and a bunch of other ones. I'm sure I didn't even pick up all of them. Oh, Night of the Living Dead was a big one. I saw that one coming a mile away. Same with Halloween. Yeah, but I can go on and on with those. But it was really interesting. It was about a guy who is made to edit horror movies, I guess to make them not X-rated and get them down to an R rating. And he goes insane doing it. And then just keeps being insane. And I can kind of relate to the idea of editing lots of content and feeling like you're going insane. I kind of know what that's like, a little bit, maybe. But, I don't know, it was fun. It wasn't, you'd never call it a great movie, or even a good movie, I guess, but it was an entertaining movie. It was not a bad way to waste Tuesday night. It's hard to believe we're already at day 17 of the movie marathon, end of October. Sadly, it feels like this month is just flying by for me, and I'm not getting to enjoy it as much as I would like, but, that's life, I guess. But anyway, the movie for tonight is Dracula, the classic Bela Lugosi Dracula. And I wanted to talk for a second about the Universal Legacy Collection, and there goes my stack. I must say, this Legacy format, I think, is currently the best way to pick up the Universal horror movies, the classic ones, because these are really nice sets. If you shop around, you get them from anywhere between $10 and $25, depending on the movie series. Certain ones are more expensive than others. I actually got these off of Craigslist. But they're really cool. I mean, they have this little slip disc cover, and then you flip them around. And this isn't just Dracula. This is the original Dracula, the Spanish version of Dracula, Dracula's daughter, Son of Dracula, and House of Dracula. So you get a really good set of Dracula movies. There's also a commentary, there's a documentary, there's the optional score to go along with Dracula. As you may know, Dracula has very little music in it originally. It has an opening credits Swan Lake theme, and there's a part in the middle with an opera where there is some music thrown in just because it's there. It's just one of the symptoms of being a very early sound movie, that they weren't really sure how much sound or what sound to put in. So there is an optional score you could add on there. And there's a couple other things and information, photo galleries and things, but it's a really cool set. Unfortunately, I've seen it get kind of a bad reviews on Amazon, which is a bit of a bummer, because I think it's really good. If we take out of the slipcover here, whoa, losing it. It's got a little translucent front to it, which I think gives a cool effect. And you have the movie itself. And obviously I took out the main disc, but that's just the main movie. And then you have the second disc that has all the extra crap on, all the other movies, and the extra crap is a double-sided disc, which I kind of normally hate, but in this case, I'll deal with it. But it's a cool little set. I really do like these sets. And I'm going to pick up the rest when I have a chance. The other ways to buy them are to buy, normally the big movies are on a single DVD, like you can get Dracula as a single DVD, Wolfman, all that stuff. And then when you get to like Dracula's Daughter and Son of Dracula, you can normally find them on a double set DVD. But you're going to end up spending more money doing that than you are going to pick up these sets.
I am Dracula.
So what can I say about Dracula that hasn't been said before? Always a wonderful movie, one of my all-time favorites. One thing I realized watching Dracula this time is it's been a little while since I've gone back to Dracula, and I've watched a lot of Frankenstein in the in-between. Particularly, in the last year, I must have watched Son of Frankenstein like half dozen times. It's really one of my favorite movies now. It's just so enjoyable, and the weird realization I had was I'm a little sad that I realized that Dracula is not Bela Lugosi's best role. It's the role he's most memorable for. And he's great in it, and I really do feel like he is the perfect Dracula, especially for the time. I mean, Christopher Lee's the only person who ever came close, in my mind, to ever being as good or iconic of a Dracula. But if you go to Son of Frankenstein and watch Lugosi's portrayal of Igor, I really think he gives a stronger and more terrifying performance as Igor in that one. There's just so much more off about Igor. Dracula is very kind of straight-laced. Even though he's evil, he's just kind of what he is. He's more proper, I guess is the right word to use. I don't know. It's a vampire thing, I guess. But Igor is just straight up crazy. Igor feels like he can get away with anything because he's technically dead. Or legally dead, I guess. And he's just a demented, crazy, manipulative jerk. I just kind of feel strange sitting down and watching Dracula and realizing that this is not Lugosi's finest hour, as I always thought it was. Another Thursday, another Romero dead film, or not necessarily a Romero dead film. This one's a Savini dead film. Well, it's the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead. I've seen this once before, and I remember kind of liking it, so curious to see how it stacks up this time.
George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
So that's another one for the fire. But yeah, Savini's Night of the Living Dead. I liked it the first time I saw it, and I still did enjoy it this time. I have some issues with it. It's very, very similar to the original. Which, I think if you're doing a remake, I don't like remakes that follow that closely. There's really nothing more explored in this movie. There's no new ground broken, I guess. So, I kind of wish there would have been something a little bit more to it. I do like that Barbara is kind of elevated in the movie. In the original movie, she was such a useless character and just a crying, just nothing. She was useless to the movie. And in this one, honestly, at the end, I had to double check to make sure this movie wasn't newer than I thought it was, because looking back, this was 1990, and I was getting some serious Terminator 2, Sarah Connor vibes off of Barbara in this one, and definitely was before Terminator 2, so it's kind of interesting. Also, did not realize watching it that Johnny was played by Bill Moseley in this one. That's kind of surprising. But not a bad movie. I'll watch it again. Is that seriously a Candyman reference? Just have to ask, because Tony Todd's in this one. Was it just a Candyman reference right there? Tonight's movie for Serial Killer Friday, or at least I think it's a serial killer movie. I'm going to be checking out Night of the Hunter. It's a movie that's been recommended to me a couple times, but I don't really know a whole lot about it, so interested to check this one out. It's supposedly supposed to be good.
Ben never told you throw it in the river, did he?
I can hear you whispering, children, so I know you're down there. I can feel myself getting awful mad.
Here is all the stark terror, the passion and suspense, the heart-pounding warmth of the best-selling novel that gripped millions.
Holy cow, that was... I'm thinking Night of the Hunter may be the best movie that I haven't seen that I've put on my list this year. I was really enthralled with VHS. I really enjoyed watching that. But I know I watched a couple other ones that I've enjoyed a lot, but this one definitely way up there on the list. I'm so glad I watched it. I'm kind of sad I didn't watch it before. It's on Netflix Instant Streaming, so I would definitely recommend anybody who wants to check it out, definitely go do that. It's easy enough to come by. But really awesome movie. It was 1955, which it's kind of interesting seeing that this movie came out the same year as Revenge of the Creature, so I can kind of put it into context that way. But it is pretty dark in places, and there's no actual real violence ever shown on screen. But there's some dark things either discussed or the aftermath is shown, and really surprising for a movie from the 1950s to see how dark it goes. The storyline's pretty good. The visuals are very intriguing. It has a very German expressionistic style to it, and the adult actors, I think, do a pretty good job, especially the main antagonist. He is phenomenal in this, I think. He is just this version of creepy that I haven't seen. I actually am starting to think the main point of the movie, or the antagonist in the movie, is a false preacher that goes around. He's trying to find this money that he knows is somewhere connected to these two children and their mother. And he basically finds this out from their father in prison, or the husband in prison, and murders the husband, gets out of prison, and goes to get that money that he knows is there. And he's this false preacher, and he's weaseling his way into their lives and all this stuff. I mean, I wonder if it's kind of supposed to be, or kind of became the template for movies like The Stepfather, and particularly the one I was seeing. This is going to sound weird, but Poltergeist 2, he reminded me a lot of Kane from Poltergeist 2. Just this kind of man who seems like a kindly preacher traveling around, but there's really just something horrible and sinister behind it. The biggest knock I can give this movie is the child acting, and back in those days, I know they really never got really good child actors in a movie. At least I've never seen good child actors in movies. I mean, if you want to see my point exactly, go check out Son of Frankenstein. That movie I know I've talked about before, but it features the child who did the voice of young Bambi Bambi, but he is horrible, and the little boy in this movie is totally passable, totally fine. The little girl is horrible. She is just not an actress, and not very good at it, but she's very young as well, so it's kind of excusable, especially, like I said, for the age. I'm probably going to watch it again pretty darn soon. So, I would recommend checking this one out. I think this has to be one of my favorite new ones I've watched this month. Everything's like easy. $5 for a wing? Menus are hard to make, right? Oh my God,
I wonder how many times they get slapped.
I'm sure it comes with the territory.
That's cool.
That is cool. I never really considered it.
Just a shadow. I was alone.
Chris hasn't changed.
We should bring mom and dad to Halloween Horror Nights.
Your parents? Fucking Nosferatu. Somebody's having a bad shower. Oh, they're actually projecting it up there. Yeah, they're definitely building something over there.
Wait, on it there? Oh, good.
I thought you like you asked me to do that, right? Because you asked her what her sign was.
I was gonna. Look, no, that's the thing. No matter what she said, all you have to say is
Were you scared of Homer?
Huh?
Were you scared by Homer?
It was some guy with like a plastic bag covered in stuffed animal. It actually looks creepier than half the monsters around here.
Want to take a picture?
So yet another crazy week back from Halloween Horror Nights, and it was just a really nutso week. We were supposed to leave Friday night. I got delayed. It's just a bunch of crap happened, so we ended up leaving Saturday morning. Did a bunch of running around Saturday, and it was a 2-hour drive down there. We ran around doing some stuff, hanging out with my parents and everything, and then that night we went to Halloween Horror Nights. Now, this was a learning experience. I've been to Halloween Horror Nights twice before, and sadly, this was the least fulfilling time, I guess. The first time I went, we got hooked up with some of the fast passes, basically for free. We paid for our normal tickets and got hooked up with fast passes for free, and that was awesome. We got to do like everything we wanted to, but that experience was kind of marred by the fact that there was a hurricane blowing in, so a lot of things kind of shut down early, and there were no street performers out or anything like that. Second time we went, which I covered in a video about 2 years ago, we had some issues and the smoke effects. I mean, I'm even coughing right now from this year, but the smoke effects, I think, really got to both me and my girlfriend. Just not helpful. But we got to go on a few haunted houses that year, and a fair amount of haunted houses that year, and a show and all kinds of crap. And that was, I believe, on a Thursday night. This year, we went on a Saturday night, and I think that was our first big mistake. When we got there, the event had sold out, and we made the right choice. We actually went and got tickets in advance, and for anybody who ever runs into this problem in future who's seeing this video, what I would recommend to do, if you go to like a grocery store like Publix or whatever, I know most people who don't live around Florida or Georgia don't know what Publix is, but hey, it's a local grocery store. They have the displays with bunches of little tickets up there for Halloween Horror Nights. It's usually the Florida resident discounted rate, which they normally don't even check to see if you're really a Florida resident. So that's not a big deal with those. But if you get those, they're going to let you in the park, even if it's sold out at the gate. So that's kind of a good thing. They must have an allotment for that. But when we got in, we immediately, it was about 8 o'clock when we got there. They were open until 2 a.m. They'd opened at 6:30, so we didn't miss too much time at the beginning. Went straight, I guess I could open up this map. So this is what I did kind of last time. I'll give you the little virtual tour. So here's the gates. Came straight in. We did not find the map to begin with. That was kind of a pain in the butt. The way we came in, we kind of got pushed past the maps, and I kind of had no clue where we were going for most of the time. But we came straight over here to B on the map, which was Silent Hill, and we waited for 2.5 hours in that line. And that was kind of ridiculous. That was the one Whitney wanted to go to more than anything else, so we waited for that one. We had a bit of a fight with some other people in line because they were trying to push their way forward to just get to the head of the crowd because they decided they were cute and they needed to go on the haunted house faster than everybody else. So I kind of told them off and got them really pissed at me. I consider it a public service. But anyway, yeah, I'm a jerk. What could I say? But we went in that one was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun. But 2.5 hours, so getting there 8, it was about 10:30 by the time we were out of that ride, or out of that attraction. So we came down here. There were some other haunted houses I didn't really care about. There was, F, which was Gothic, and then E, which is Dead End. So 2 ones that are really just generic themed. And we started looking at the times. These ones were like 90-minute waits, and we realized we weren't going to get to go on as much stuff as we wanted, so we immediately kind of started thinking what other ones we want to go on. And I wanted to go on the Alice Cooper house. I'm a big heavy metal fan. I'm an Alice Cooper fan, so I figured that'd be a lot of fun. Get over about here, near Y, which is what the heck is Y? Oh, it's a mummy ride. And we started seeing signs pointing for Alice Cooper, pointing this way. Well, to give you a view of it, Alice Cooper was here. So we were up here, signs pointing this way, Alice Cooper was here. The better option would have been to go back and around this way. So that was just a pain. So you walked all through here. There's nothing out here anymore because of the way they've taken away Jaws and everything. And over here was Men in Black, the ride, which is a fun ride, but it was labeled as a 30-minute wait. We're like, oh, well, that's not a big deal. Got in line. It was a minimum of an hour wait for that ride. I would never have gotten in line for it if I thought it was going to be near that long. It's not worth it. And we've been to Universal 3 other times this year, so not really the best use of our time, which kind of was disappointing. But then we came back around, finally did Alice Cooper, and that's at a 60-minute wait, and it ended up only being about half an hour. But that was a really fun house as well, especially, I think if you weren't a fan of his music, it wouldn't be as cool. But it kind of had different rooms themed after different songs. So that was kind of fun. And then we came back through here. There's a lot of cool scare zones out in the middle of everything. That kind of made it worth it. A lot of actors running around, jumping in your face, and smoke effects and light effects, which I believe is all in the video. I don't know how much I got. I haven't looked at it at this point. And then we decided, I think we were going to go back and try this roller coaster over here, and then maybe try another house. But by the time we got over there, I mean, it was basically almost 1 o'clock, and there was no use. They were starting to cap lines and everything, and just wasn't going to work out. So we got 2 haunted houses and a ride, which is a little disappointing. But at least I know next year we're going to try, if we do it again, to try to go on a weekday, try to get there when it opens, and if not, get the Fast Pass. I think that's definitely something you need to do if you're going to go on a weekend where it's going to be crowded, especially this weekend where we're sold out. I mean, it's late in October, so that could be another factor. Just a little disappointing, but still, it was a fun time. I just wish we could have done more. I really wish we could have done more. I know my friend's disappointed we didn't go in the Walking Dead haunted house. I mean, what they also did, the Walking Dead haunted house, Silent Hill, which we did, Alice Cooper that we did, Penn and Teller's Nuked Vegas, which I really kind of wanted to see as well, Dead End, Gothic, and House of Horrors. And House of Horrors was another one I kind of wanted to see, but there's just not enough time to do it, I guess. We didn't get to see, but we got to hear a little bit of the Bill and Ted show because of Men in Black being right next to it, which I guess was kind of nice, but I don't know. But yeah, so that was our Halloween Horror Nights trip for 2012.